Hello, my name is Mariusz Smoli. I'm a music director and conductor of Acadiana Symphony in Louisiana, and I'm here to invite you to our next concert titled Empower. This is another installment in our season that we titled Revival, Revive. When we think about powerful music, there is no more perfect musical vehicle to deliver powerful musical statement than symphony orchestra. Now, when we think about a perfect composer that projects the power in the purest, most significant and perfect way, the first name that comes to my mind is Ludwig van Beethoven, a composer of tremendous spirit, a revolutionary artist that wasn't afraid to break current norms, to explore new sounds, new energies in music. And that was indeed the composer that we originally thought about centering our program around, this project titled Empower. We planned on presenting you with one of his magnificent big works, his Mass in C major, which in addition to his famous symphonies, such as Symphony No. 5, 7, or 9, present this unrelentless energy, this great musical power that Beethoven is able to create in his musical narration. Unfortunately, the pandemic again doesn't allow us to fully proceed with our dreams, with our planning. And because this work involves large choir and soloists and a very big orchestra, we had to scale down to adjust to the current situation. But we're still going to present you with music by Ludwig van Beethoven, but to present perhaps lesser known part of his personality, lesser known element of his musical powers, more gentle and lyrical compositions of that great German master. So instead of presenting you with his symphony or the Mass in C major, I'd like to invite you to experience his two shorter works for violin solo and orchestra titled Romances. Sometimes I believe a message which is delivered in more gentle, subdued tone can be as powerful, as dramatic as a musical statement delivered very loudly and dramatically and forcefully. And I believe those musical statements, those musical wonderful ideas that Beethoven presents with his two romances had this incredible communicative power that we hope to present you with. Beethoven composed his two romances for violin and orchestra around year 1800. They are both composed in the form of rondo, which means he introduces a main theme that he is going to reintroduce several times during a composition, and he puts in between those statements new ideas, new variations of the main theme, main melody. The first of those two romances, composed in the key of G major, features the main theme that will appear several times during the composition in the form of a hymn. It's a very noble, almost dark melody that later develops into brighter colors, that is being first introduced by violin solo and then later is going to be picked up and developed by the orchestra. And now I'm going to ask our violin soloist for this concert, a wonderful performer originally from Bulgaria, now living in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Borislava Itcheva, to present us with the main theme for this first romance by Beethoven in the key of G major. Thank you, Borislava. And now, contrasting to this first romance, the second romance is more lyrical, singing, cantabile in nature. It has the same form of rondo, where the main theme is being presented several times, and in between you hearing other musical developments. The overall character is again a little bit brighter, a little bit more lyrical, however develops later in more of a dramatic texture, which I think is quite often an element of many romances that perhaps we so observed or experienced ourselves. So here is the main theme for the second romance in F major, played by Borislava Itcheva.
I'm looking forward to this collaboration with Acadiana Symphony, and I hope that you will join us either in person or virtually for this concert.
Thank you, Borislava. So our program opens on April 16 with two romances in G major and F major by Ludwig van Beethoven, projecting the gentle, kinder, more subdued, powerful still musical message and narration from this wonderful German classical composer. Another classical work on this program, and another manifestation of power that is not loud, it's not very rhythmic and energetic, but nevertheless extremely direct and meaningful and powerful, will be by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. We're going to play his symphony in key of G minor number 40. This symphony is a part of last three symphonies, 39, 40 and 41, that Mozart wrote in the summer of 1788. His very last work was the famous Requiem, and there seems to be a lot of question marks and unknowns about the Requiem. However, we really do know why Mozart wrote the Requiem. We know that it is unfinished. We know why this is unfinished work. We know who finished the work, and really we have all the information we need to fully understand the origins and meaning of the work. Much less answers we have about Mozart's last three symphonies, 39, 40 and 41, that are really the best large orchestral works that Mozart composed. This really summarizes his great genius in terms of writing music for big orchestra, and we know very little about why he wrote this music, who commissioned them. We don't know if Mozart even heard those symphonies ever being performed. We have some suspicions. We suspect that his musical colleague slash rival Antonio Salieri probably conducted Symphony number 40, but there's no documentation showing it. And there's a lot of questions surrounding the origins of the piece and the reasons why Mozart really composed those three symphonies together in such a short period of time. The music speaks volumes about his talent. As with other symphonies, he really creates with the instruments wonderful opera-like characters. There's lots of conversations, lots of color, wonderful instrumental writing. But out of those three symphonies, the middle one, number 40, that we will present with you, seems to be having the biggest effect on many composers and musicians that followed Mozart in the later years. The famous romantic German composer Richard Wagner called this particular symphony in G minor as the key and pivotal point to romantic music. Schubert, Schumann, Mendelssohn, they all cited that very symphony as the largest sort of inspiration from all the instrumental music that Mozart wrote. And the question, of course, is why? Why this symphony is standing out from all the other instrumental works that Mozart wrote? In my opinion, and opinion that some other musicians and conductors share, is that the character or characters that Mozart created with that symphony in G minor are much more personal than the musical characters he portrays in his other works. This seems to be the most personal symphony that Mozart ever wrote. It's more about him, not some superficial opera character, comic or dramatic character that had nothing to do with Mozart's life. This symphony has a lot to do with what's happening with Mozart and what's happening around him at the time of creation. He was really suffering at the time, even though he was widely recognized for his talents. He was struggling financially. He had some personal problems. His career was not really developing the way he hoped and the way he deserved. And a lot of this agitation, pain, and grief is really portrayed in the symphony. It's written in the minor key, which is a rarity. Most of the Mozart instrumental works are in major keys. This one is a minor key. It starts its first movement. It's a work in 4 movements. It starts with its first movement with this agitated 3-note theme, a little musical motto, almost like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. So, but instead of this powerful, loud pa-pa-pa-pam, we have a gentle 3-note motive, da-da-dam, di-da-dam, which is almost like a question that Mozart cannot answer, or maybe tries to answer later on in his symphony. This small motive that you will immediately recognize from the very first note will penetrate the entire first movement and sort of ask the questions that Mozart is perhaps trying to answer in the following section. This typical classical 4-movement structure starts with this movement featuring the characteristic theme. The second movement is beautiful lyrical instrumental aria, something very typical for Mozart's musical style and style of many classical composers. The third traditionally features a dance, in this case a minuet. And the fourth movement, very dramatic, powerful also in terms of a dynamic and rhythm and energy, seems to be a bit of a internal struggle that Mozart perhaps is undergoing and trying to find answers to the questions that he asked in the first movement. I will not answer for you what is the musical conclusion that the composer comes to after imposing the questions in the first movement. I think there is no correct or incorrect answer. Each of us who will listen to that work with care and attention will probably have your own individual take on it. Anyway, it's a wonderful, powerful statement of Mozart's genius, which again is not being expressed with lots of loud sounds, big orchestra, dramatic rhythms, but is expressed with lyricism, agitation, a bit of nostalgia, perhaps pain, and also love. Also love for life, which was always present in almost every Mozart work. So we're going to show you the power of music through a more gentle and lyrical side of 2 wonderful classical composers. First Ludwig van Beethoven, later Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. I really hope you will enjoy our presentation, and I hope to see you on the other side of the screen on April 16th. Thank you very much.